Art is a universal language. A painting or a sculpture can represent so many different feelings or tell a story. You don't need words to it. Anybody can read it or see it and come up with ideas. So that's how you're bridging cultures. You're learning from other cultures. I hope my art does something like that, bridging. My name is Nicolas F, and I'm originally from El Salvador, born and raised there from Chinese parents. And I came to the United States in, I think it was 1980 to go to school. Being an artist wasn't an option to my parents. When I graduated from high school and decided what to study, being an artist is no way. Go into a real career or something. So I also like architecture, so architecture was sort of like a compromise. So I worked in the field for about 12 years, but then eventually I got tired of it. I got into a point that I was doing mainly engineering, so I started painting as a hobby again, like just try to do something more creative. And eventually I said, I should probably try it, so I quit my job, and the moment I decided, okay, yes, I can make it. I'm an artist. It was the first time I sold a painting. And then I won this artist competition in El Salvador, for a major competition over there. So then I said, okay, yes, I can call myself an artist. I felt like an artist. I came up with this idea of it is kind of like an engineering idea. Like when you have topographical maps, you set up these lines that we call contours, and each one represents a different height, like a different altitude. That's how I came up with this style. I didn't have a name, but then a friend of mine just came and I was trying to explain. And part of the theory behind it is I was asking people, the viewer, to combine the shapes to create a whole image. So he said, that's like a neo-pop impressionism. I said, I like that. So I use that as a, it's not a movement, but it is something how I describe my work now. It's a neo-pop impressionism. There actually been few moments that I feel they're special. Probably the most meaningful to me was when I finally had a solo show at the Salvadoran Art Museum. We only have one art museum in San Salvador, and they gave me the opportunity. I had a show there. So it was like coming home, like being finally accepted in El Salvador, like as an artist. So that is, to me, probably was the most meaningful so far. It was called Huéspedes Galopantes. I'm not sure, but I read it, written by a Chinese Mexican person. They were writing about Chinese migration to Mexico. He mentions the fact that in Canton, at least that area where a lot of the Chinese in Mexico came from, they will call all the men that left, they will call it Galloping Guests, meaning like they're traveling all over the world, but eventually they will come back. They're just visiting. They're not going. And that was the idea. Most Chinese people will left and they were hoping they will come back. I liked the name, and so I used it for a name for the exhibition. The works are all kind of like a biographical exhibition of my family experience of migrating, my father, my grandparents, and then myself coming to the United States. So it was all about migration, identity, the mixture of cultures. So this is my mother. I did it after she died, and she suffered Alzheimer's for the longest time. So I haven't disassembled it yet because it will take me forever to assemble it again. But the idea was that like you can start taking little pieces at a time. So like her memory disappear over time. I've shown it a couple of times, and when I explain it, a lot of people I see them crying, because they relate to it, but they probably have somebody that also suffers of Alzheimer's. My father, the story I know is as a kid, he was the only boy in the family. And this is in the early 1900s, so I don't know how China was at the time, but the story I heard is that he got kidnapped as a kid, and he escaped, but the family was worried that it could happen again. So they tried to figure out what are we going to do with him? Like, where can we send him to be safe? Somehow a relative of them was already in El Salvador. I don't know how he got there. So they sent the kid, 13, I think he was 13 years old. They sent him by himself to El Salvador. So that's how he ended up in El Salvador. He eventually married my mother, that he was also Chinese, but she was born in El Salvador already. Now, in the 1980s, there was a war in El Salvador, a civil war broke up, and my father said, it's better for you to leave the country. So that's how I ended up, Salvadoran Chinese, born in El Salvador, and then now living in the United States. It is a very interesting story because it actually happened like 50-something years. The migration part happened. But the reasons that we left, it was pretty much the same. They sent my father for safety purposes, and then my father sent me here for the same reasons. He went through a lot of discrimination in El Salvador, called a whole bunch of different names in Spanish. Like I got called similar things in English when I was here. So the experiences, being 50 years apart, but still the same. My nickname in school was Chino, that just means Chinese, like very common. But as a kid, I knew we were different. The Chinese community was very close, like, being small, we were very close. Our parents kept us safe, and, I never felt any overt discrimination or anything, against me, except, once in a while being called a name or whatever. So I never felt that. It was until I came to the United States that I actually realized what it is to be a minority and actually not being accepted. And there were times that I actually been called names in the street, like "go back to your country" kind of thing, or so the discrimination part and the racial division and discrimination part, it became more obvious to me once I came to the United States. I actually enjoy this mixture thing because I feel like I try to get the best of each culture. I'm happy to go to a Chinese restaurant, same as I go to a Salvadoran restaurant. So it opens, I guess, more possibilities. And I don't want to say I'm unique, but I'm rare. And I really enjoyed that. Like right now, I am to a point that I am happy here, where I am, who I am. So I feel that, this is home. So I belong. Like, even though some people might not think that way, to me, I feel here at peace with myself and my environment. I paint because I like to paint. I like the bright colors. I like, images. But when I was working on the Huéspedes Galopantes, it was a little bit more, it was so personal, and sometimes I was almost afraid of doing it because I was bringing up really hurtful moments in either my father's history or my history. So it was like mixed emotions, but I said it's important to say it so to people know that things like this happen. But most of the time, I just do things because I like it. I want to do it. I enjoy the process. I sit down and I start painting. Time flies, and so that's why I paint. Art sort of teaches to be creative, to think outside the box, look for new techniques or new possibilities. So if a culture or society doesn't value art, I think it's doomed to, I don't want to say die, but it will become stagnant. It won't it won't develop. It won't. It will stay there, and they might even lose their heritage or tradition because they're not telling it. They're not telling the new generation. I never really thought seriously about the legacy. I thought, oh yeah, my paintings are survive me. It probably would be nice to be remembered as a what do you call it, like a bridge artist, an artist that fused three cultures, and in his work, he's trying to create a conversation between people with different backgrounds, and again, finding a common ground. So I think that would be nice.